The birds are making the most amazing sounds today. I hope you can hear it, even though it doesn't feel too much like spring apart from the nature blooming. It's really lovely to hear. It definitely feels like we're almost at the midpoint between spring and summer. Hello and welcome. My name is Kat, for those that might be new here. If you've been here for a while, it's lovely to see you again. I hope you are doing well no matter if you're new or you've been here before. We are in the company of little Audrey, so I am perched on the edge of the sofa as to give you a little view of the sleeping kitten. It is a lovely Friday afternoon here. It's just gone midday and I'm sat down with a cup of a new to me tea company, and this is from my lovely friend Juliana, who gifted it me when she had finished doing the West Highland Way from West Highland Tea Company, hand blended in Malay. It's called Highland Fling, which is really fun, and it is a blend of hibiscus, raspberry leaf, chamomile, strawberry and rosehip. And I've only had it once. I shared it with my lovely friends who visited from Vermont. Hi May and Will, if you happen to be here. We had a cup together and it is lovely. It's really quite sweet, but not falsely sweet or too sweet. It's a lovely florally fruity comfort. And this is a mug that I've said before, but I made this one. It was a pinch pot. It is a bit chaotic, but I love the how juxtaposed the beautifully chaotic cup is to the really quite nicely made handle. It's super smooth, so you've got like a really nice soft smooth hand and then a bumpy one that's quite nice for cupping. But we'll put that down because I'm bound to spill it. I'm wearing some knitwear. I am wearing a top that I just finished, so I'll share that in a second. I'm wearing under it a Jessie May's contrast racer bra. I love this thing. I've knitted 3 of them now. Yeah, and I really love the shape and the way they fit me. It is a DK weight pattern and I used one of my remaining superwash skeins for this one. Really just super comfortable. This one is one that really needs to be gleaned. It's starting to pill quite a bit. It was one that I improvised, so there's no pattern for it, which is sort of annoying, I know, but it is also a little bit needed a bit more thought. Like I should have done a button band that was horizontally ribbed so that it kind of kept this bit up, because it does hang a bit funky. It's fine, I love it. I wear this quite a lot as a layering piece. And I knitted it using a mohair lace and a Peruvian Highland DK base that I dyed myself. And yeah, it is, I can never remember, it's either brioche or fisherman's rib. And I truly can't remember. It was quite a long time ago that I did this, and I'm a terrible person and didn't do notes. But I remember eking it out. I think it's just 2 skeins of DK. So I eked it out as much as I could, the length. But I love it. I wear it quite a bit, and I'm also wearing, I don't often do sock show and tell, but these are my Thursday night socks by Lindsay, who is Sock Witchery on Instagram. I love these, inspired by Critical Role and knitting on a Thursday night, and the yarn, it was the perfect pairing. The yarn is Betrayal on Yak Sock by Chromatic Yarns. This was a club colourway, and it was just a colourway that I kind of felt like I needed to purchase and support lovely Hannah, who is also over here as the Corner of Craft and records so much content. It's amazing, and is really nice company on like a Friday afternoon when you're trying to wind down for the week, but you also need to get stuff done, and seeing Hannah getting stuff done is a bit motivating. So I love these. I really like how they are wearing. Alex has borrowed them. I'm wearing them quite a lot. I quite like that the underneath is sort of felting, but it's not felted, if that makes sense. But yeah, they've got a lot of wear already. So yeah, I guess I'll share my finished object, and it's one that I'm really happy with. I knitted it using this lovely mohair from Kelsey, who is knitting Nakabi. We did a kind of a swap 2 years ago, I think it was, and a year and a half ago, and it arrived and I was like, this could be a Ghost Whisperer, which is a pattern by Park and Knit. It's a crop top with like poofy sleeves. It's really, really cute. And then I felt like it was almost too simple. It needed to be something a bit more. And anything I was thinking of to put it into kind of hid the yarn almost. It wouldn't have let it shine. So I thought about doing like a storm hood. I thought like a hood or a balaclava type thing. But then I would have had to hold it with something, and I thought that would be a shame to cover up this colour. And Kelsey achieved this with marigolds, which I think is amazing. Here you go. Yeah. I quite like that there's a little bit of plant matter in here still. It kind of makes me happy. After all that time, I was like, you know what? If it's still whispering to me, like it needed to be a Ghost Whisperer, I'm just going to do it. And I did. And I really love it, only I modified it. So the sleeves should be a little bit longer and then puffed in. So they would have puffed out and then hugged nice and tightly just above the elbow. However, I was on the train and I did actually try this on the train, and I must have looked a bit silly. The service dog that was at my feet was like, is she okay? What's she doing? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need to try this thing on. And it had like, 2 sets of needles and just a bit chaos. And it just needed to be more floofy. So what I did was knitted until the length I was almost happy with, just a row or two before. I did a super, super quick increase and then bound off. That's it. I'm really happy with the result. It is very whimsical. It looks quite nice layered with a sweater vest over the top or a little corselet type thing. I think it's going to get loads of wear in the summer. I've worn this out already a couple of times. I wore it when we were in Edinburgh because I'd actually run out of warmer weather clothes because I checked the weather and it said it was going to be 10 degrees, and whilst it felt like that in the shade, it felt like 20 in the like when you're in the sun. So I did actually run out of tops, so this was a perfect little project, and I think I'd knitted a little bit of it, so just maybe a bit more than you'd seen last episode if you happened to be here. I finished most of it on the train, but the next morning I saved a bit because I wanted to have a project to knit on. At the coffee shop I finished the neckline and bound off the second sleeve. But yeah, a really fun project to knit, a really quick project to knit. I am actually knitting I think it's going to be a version of it, but it's going to be heavily modified again because I'm using the yarn. I'll show you it now because it doesn't make sense to break it up if it makes sense to share. But I'm using much smaller needles, so this was on a 6.5mm needle, and I'm using 4mm needles to do a version. I need to give this a little block to see, but this is Sweet Flax by Ginger Twist Studio in the Gore Blimey colourway. When we were away, I ran out of knitting, so I did a cheeky tiny swatch with a couple of needle sizes to see what fabric I liked the best, and cast on using that rough measurement, assuming that it was going to stretch a little bit, and then just cast on, and what I will be doing is giving this a block and then adjusting it accordingly. It could be that it's like a little peplum. If this is too many stitches, I will bind it off a little bit or put some elastic in it and do some decreases, and that like quite rapid ones, and then maybe increase it back out just a touch to fit me up to here. And then I think I want to do a similar sleeve. I feel like this yarn being so delightfully drapey and cool, having these big sleeves and quite an open underarm area, which is perfect in the summer, will be really, really lovely and something I'll get a lot of wear out of. This yellow is basically the perfect yellow that I have in three of my tartany items, so it'll be quite nice. I've got a green dress, a green skirt, sorry, with a limey yellowy stripe through it. I've got a skirt with a similar and trousers, so I think this will get a lot of wear with those colour wise, but also just with black, since I really do love black with a pop. I've been wearing this loads lately and it goes nicely with this too. Like, it seems to be my colour. You can have that. Try not to wake you, but I can't resist a little stroke when I see you. You're very sweet. So this will be another very modified version of the Ghost Whisperer. I really liked the shaping on it. That's what drew me to it, and I realised it's quite simple. It's not anything I haven't done before. I just really liked the shape and the way it fitted lots of the bodies. So yeah, this is a combination of linen, silk and alpaca. Really, I think it's going to be delightful in the summer, and it will be one of those pieces that I throw in my bag with a mohair cardigan or my Let Lopey cardigan and have enough layers in the summer evenings, I hope. We have some sunshine. It actually hasn't been that bright today, so that's very exciting. I don't know about you, but I am like grinning from ear to ear every time I see the sunshine lately. It just makes me so happy, and I forgot how, well, I hadn't realised how aware I was how dark it had been. That's the Ghost Whisperer, a really lovely pattern. Park Williams is not a designer I've knitted from before, but so far I'm enjoying it, and I really like the modification of my sleeves. Like, how they're written is lovely, and I would definitely like to knit a version as recommended, but also I think for me personally this makes more sense since it's not touching the underarms. Or does that make sense for the summer? So yeah, really happy with this. This one I wound on the train and I only dropped it once, and I got a lovely football lad to kick it back to me. It like rolled in his foot and I was like, sorry. It's like, you can kick it. And he kicked it back to me. And it's like, go. Anyway, super happy with that one. The other finished object I have is for Alex, because he's a good egg and he deserves to have all the things that I can make him. And it's a project that I've had on the needles for a little while. I hadn't thought about it, but for those who are watching Critical Role and Campaign 3 in particular, and know that Chetney has a blue hat that was knitted for him, and I did a little cosplay. And this is kind of the colour of Chetney's hat, and I happened to be knitting it while wearing the cosplay. It was just a bit like, oh, oops, but serendipitous. So this is the yarn. So this yarn is actually from Glasgow, where I purchased it anyway, and it was actually purchased for Alex because he wanted to knit a hat, but I ran out of knitting, so I actually hand wound it again. So note to self, if you're going to Scotland, in particularly by the train, take some knitting with you, more than you think. But Alex wanted a hat from this for quite a while, and I hadn't got round to doing it or casting it on for him. and it seemed like the perfect little project. So this is Iona DK in the blue teal colourway, and this is a gorgeous yarn that really comes to life once it's been washed. And I think, if I remember correctly, there's usually, because it changes year on year depending what they have on Iona or in Iona, there's usually about 7 breeds, I think, in here. So it's a really gorgeous yarn. It's slightly heathered, so it's got this rich depth to it. And I just knitted a 1x1 rib beanie. Nothing out there, nothing difficult. In fact, there's another one. This was a really, really satisfying project, and it took me just a little while to finish it up. I think I need to look at what I'm doing with my pearls that are making my knit stitches not look as neat, and maybe I will try the Norwegian pearl again, because it isn't quite as neat as it should be, but we'll work on that. Yeah, I did a 1x1 rib. I cast on and knitted until I was happy with the length, and then I divided it into 4 sections this time. So I think there was about 100 stitches on here, so there's 25 stitches, and I shuffled it so that I had a stitch marker either side of, it was just after, but either side of the knit stitch that correlated with as close to every 25 stitches as I could. And then I did some decreases either side, so I did a decrease round followed by a plain knitting round, keeping it in pattern. So I was slip knitting before the marker and then knitting 2 together after. So on the right hand side it was a slip knit, on the left hand side it was a knit 2 together. I like the way it's finished. It is not the, I think it is the way I'm knitting, doesn't make it look the neatest, but I generally really like this way of knitting. Sometimes I do a central double decrease, so decreasing over 2 stitches in a 1 stitch decrease rather than decreasing either side. But I quite like the way this looks, so this will probably be another way I keep going and doing it in the future. And I decreased down to, I think, 16 stitches this time. Sometimes I do less. But yeah, really like it. This is for Alex. My poor hair is taking some beating today. I have been in the rain and to the gym, which has been really fun actually. I haven't been to the gym. I've only been once since we got back. And it was really fun. It was really fun to go and listen to some music and move, but my head is because of it. So yeah, really happy, really like this, and I'm looking forward to getting this worn a bit, because it's got a nice tooth to it and a crispiness, but it does soften up with wear, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing it evolve and change into that. Oh, that's so sweet. So this one has seen more progress than I anticipated, and I think it's just because I find it quite moorish. It doesn't feel like time's passing, and I did think it was taking longer than it did, because I thought there was no way I was going to get to the point of dividing for the underarms when we were away, but I did, and I didn't have Alex to try it on, so I had to just put it to the side, which was a real error on my part. But this is Alex's elf mail, and I have divided for the sleeves. Okay, you can't. It is on quite a small cable, but I'm loving this project. It is a pattern by Danny Meager and has these beautiful slip stitch details along the increases, which are quite hard to read in this yarn. And this yarn is something that I can't remember. So I got this when I was still knitting for Alex. Knitting? When I was still crocheting. I am definitely still knitting now. And it was always going to be a jumper, but I just couldn't decide what, and we backed and forth for quite a while, and I've tried to knit with it in the past and it's just not been quite right. But I think it's maybe a Debbie Bliss or a Rowan base that's no longer made. They are really lovely colours, perfect for Alex. It is quite slubby, and because of that, the texture definitely reads so differently to the versions that I've made. But I have to say, I really love it because of that. It is very hobbity and just very Alex. It's so tactile as well. I could go on about this pattern. I really like the way it's written. It's very clear. There's a lot of explanation. The fit is fantastic. I don't know if I've just got really lucky, but I really like the shaping on the sleeves. It is very tapered. They are meant to be fitted, but the nature of the stitch pattern is so stretchy, so it doesn't feel like you're trapped. You've still got lots of movement in it. It has some short rows on the back. I was going to maybe do them in pattern, but I've said this before, it didn't really bother me, so I haven't bothered adjusting it. Wow, there's so much of my hair and Alex's hair in this. But yeah, I'm really enjoying working on it, and I've got about 3 inches, 2.5 inches of the underarm done. And yeah, I'm just very excited to keep on knitting on it. I swatched for this and my stitch gauge was much larger than Danny's, so I have cast on a much smaller version than I might normally for Alex. I think I have cast on the second size, and so far it's measuring up really nicely. I might get him to try it on again shortly, or I might do an inch on either sleeve just to get a really good idea of fit and then carry on with the body. But so far, a lot of fun. I know I've gone on about this pattern before, but it's just a really great pattern, and I love when you can knit something over and over again, and first of all it remains fun, but also, much like any knitting pattern, changing the colour, changing the texture of the yarn you use, the fibre content, all of those things, when you see how different they can be, like this compared to the one that I just finished, the t-shirt, the scrappy t-shirt version, versus the proper woodland elf one that I finished first. It's so different, and also I'm quite looking forward to maybe borrowing this. So I won't go on about this anymore, but a truly beautiful pattern, and I'm eagerly anticipating Danny coming back to pattern writing after having a little baby. No pressure though, Danny. Not that I know you, but I am, because the patterns are beautiful. Oh, look at those toe beans. Hey. If you stopped being so cute, you wouldn't get so much affection. And then finally, I have cast on my half and half wrap. This will be kind of the same as what I did before, when I just went, these are the numbers, this is how to do it, I'm just going to do it my way. So the modifications I made for that one were to do German short rows and to just do my own take on the striping using dice, and also instead of the rows getting shorter than the rows getting longer, I actually used the backwards loop cast on method to cast on all the stitches again and then decrease again, so that the rows got shorter, and it really held my attention and brought me a lot of joy just knitting away on it. So I really wanted to knit another one, and there will be more in my future, I think, for gifts in particular. But when Kelsey sent the dreamy skein of fantasy trash that I thought was a skein, foolishly, but the surprise was the way she twisted it made it look like a single skein, but it was actually a collection of 5 minis for each of our characters. Is that not just the coolest? So let's get them. Here we go. This first one was inspired by my character Sophia, who is a protector Aasimar from Port de Marly, which is a little coastal place. It's a very nice little place to come from, and she loves gold and is a bit of a... yeah, this represents her beautifully. This one was inspired by Valtris, our changeling wizard bard, who inspires us with fun facts. Really perfect again for her. Kelsey's done such a great job on these. This one was inspired by Sheldon, who is our flower pooping bunny, who was once a little boy scout from the Feywild that we returned to his home, and then he came back to us not long later, but for him years later, and he has little bunny sons and daughters, and is a big buff bunny now. But this is inspired by him and it's perfect. Kelsey, you're amazing. This one is inspired by Naya, our monk who... Naya, I say it differently every time, I do apologise, Mary. I don't know why it's still... error. But she's a purple-haired monk, and she is a proper mercenary, quite edgy, but is also soft at heart. And this colour is really perfect for her. And then finally we have this dreamy orange, which was inspired by Diodora, who is our morally misaligned tiefling, who I really hope comes back to join us. She has, got herself in a bit of a dilemma, and we weren't as good as we should have been directing those morals and teaching and explaining things. So hopefully we get Diodora back, because she's such a cool character. Dreamy colours. I can't believe I've got yarn inspired by my little D&D party, which are called Fantasy Trash, which is why the colourway was named that, or the colourway collection was named that. And we literally, a few of the party did actually go fantasy trash diving, because we're that kind of party. The yarn that I used to do my little cast on section here was yarn that we had spun from really local sheepies, so it has 50% Valet Blacknose and 50% Jacob, and then it was spun in the borders of Scotland. I've got almost none of this left in existence now, and I love it, so I'm going to put it into this little blanket, and then all of the other colours that I'm going to use will be colours that people I've either swapped with or for projects for other people, so it's going to be my little friendship wrap. And this one will probably be one that stays at home. I'm going to knit on it while I play D&D, I'm going to wrap up in it while I wear D&D, because this one is getting so much use. I'm a bit worried that I'm going to put almost too much wear in it. When I'm sitting down in the evening, I will gravitate towards putting this over me. So it will be quite nice to have one that is more specific for that task. And I think what I'm going to do this side is just highlight our little fantasy trash section. So I'm going to just keep knitting as much as I can with them and do a little bit of a continued panel in this off-white cream. And then do more of a block colour on this side, and then on the opposite side just do chaos rolling again, and just letting the dice decide what colour and then how many rows of the colour. And I think I'll try and do it the same, where I do 1 row or 2 rows of a main colour and then 2 rows of a the striping colour. Hey, to get this, can't really see it, this effect. Oh, you're so cute. And again, I have opted for German short rows, and I will do exactly the same, where I will backwards loop cast on all of the extra stitches once I've got to the point where my rows are on this half are complete, and then my rows will get shorter again, because I do think, as much as I wouldn't mind, I feel like it's a bit more exciting. You know, when something changes in a pattern, you kind of get, oh, I'm doing something different. I'm gonna get excited and get more interested in continuing. So yeah, that was a big old waffle for this. Same as recommended needle size, cast on the recommended amount of stitches, and I'm just gonna go ham and enjoy it. I've got quite a selection in here. I'm gonna use some of the other yarns from my advent calendar swap we did. This one was from my lovely friend Becky when she went to Wales. Just lots of lovely little bits, so I'll share a bit more about them when that comes up, but I get why people enjoy these projects now. And oh, this one next. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it and can't wait to do a bit more knitting. Hopefully this evening. I have a lovely friend coming round tonight to do some nerdy crafting. So I recently ran a one-shot for some friends in real life, which was really fun, and I'm very grateful. Oh, hello, kitten. To have kind of coaxed a few more pals into playing with me. But she got really into it and has bought herself the player's handbook and wants to create some elfies for her character when she plays her, which I think is really cool because I lent her my elfies when she was playing. So I'm going to show her how to make them this evening, which will be quite a nice task to do, I think. We're hoping to get out on a bit of a nature walk this week, which should be fun this weekend. So if we do, I will put in some lovely footage, hopefully, because I haven't done it yet, and I don't intend on editing today. I'm going to have the rest of the day doing admin-y tasks, which is kind of nice. I can sit on my computer for a bit. Yeah, hopefully there's some lovely nature footage for you to watch. And I think that's it. That's it. Oh, you're so clean. Oh, right. Anyway, thank you so much for sitting down and spending some time with me. I do really appreciate it. I know that I've said it a lot, and what I've kind of, I don't know, I always finish with a little bit of waffle, don't I? I don't mean to, but every time I'm like, yeah, bye, I think, but where this started as connections and kind of documenting learning, it's still very much that. But I do have to say, friendship's a good thing this year. That's something that I'm focusing on. And I've had some lovely chats about that, like because I mentioned it on here. People asking how do you go about making friends and things like that, which has been interesting to have that chat because I don't often think about how. I think for me, continuing to do the things that I do that bring me joy and tend to bring connections, so whether that's going to the independent pubs locally or craft, brew pubs, going to the board game cafe seems to bring in friends. Live music seems to bring in pals. I can't believe how many old friends I saw last weekend. It was wild. People I hadn't seen in a decade that have moved back to Watford. Very strange. But also going to more craft shows, even if that's craft markets as opposed to fibre festivals, and checking out the local guild of spinners and weavers would be a really good thing to do, I think. It's just quite interesting to have that thought of, how do you make friends these days? And I guess actively reaching out to people online, and it's a really good way of doing so. But anyway, let's make some more friends. I love you. I hope to see you again very soon, and don't forget to love each other.
documentary about being flustered in a busy street.
I'd rather be in there.
Welcome to London's busiest streets. My name's Kat or Catherine.
I love that. How cool.
I'm a new busy streetwalker based in Brick Lane in London. Scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you right now?